Hi guys, it's me Erica, and so today I'm going to be showing you some tips and tricks I use to organize my room and also some of the cosplay supplies I have, since that can get a lot of mess. And yeah, hope you enjoy this video and let's get to the tips. So first, starting off, I'll be showing you my room before I cleaned it. This clip was taken right after finals, and before finals I even had Fandom, so I didn't clean it for a good 3 weeks before I had to. And though it might not look messy to some of you guys, it's pretty messy to me. So we'll be tackling it in 2 sections, which is room and then also for cosplay storage. So let's get started. So the first thing you always want to do is to fix up your bed, because fixing up your bed gives your room a kind of cohesive joint so that it already starts looking way cleaner than it is already just by fixing your bed. And do this how you fix your bed normally. I don't know if there's a special method in like fixing your bed. So yeah. So the next important step you're going to have to do is to dust your shelves and cabinets. I have a really bad habit of not doing this because it just takes so much time to take everything off and then put it back on, but it does make a huge difference and is really key in doing this, especially if you have figures such as Funko Pops or even Androids, because those, when left out dusty, can ruin your figure. And when dusting, I usually also rearrange stuff because it gives a new light to your room. So if you can't really buy new items to redecorate or like totally change your room up, just rearranging some of the items makes a huge difference. And to reiterate again how much dusting can help your room not just become cleaner but also nicer, just look at this kind of shelf I had where I had my CDs and some of my figures. Like, look how dusty it is and how much nicer it looks after dusting it and putting everything back on the shelf. And furthermore, for the rearranging, I actually rearranged some of my posters on my wall, and rearranging can also help see how much space you do or do not have, because when I rearranged the posters on this wall, I actually found out that I had more space for more posters in the future than I thought I did, which is a good way to gauge to buy more stuff or to buy less stuff in the future. Another problem I have, especially because I take a lot of bags to conventions and also when I go out, is that a lot of these bags have different purposes. Of course, like, I won't bring a huge bag if I'm just gonna go to the mall. I'd rather bring a purse. And likewise, if I go to a con, I wouldn't really bring a purse if I know I'm gonna buy more items. But the thing with that is that I tend to like leave a lot of my stuff that I had before and after the convention in there still. So like sometimes I will lose items that I didn't know I left there. And so after every con or after every event you go ahead and clean out your bag so you don't forget something in there or leave stuff accumulating there, because I usually leave a lot of water bottles there. And since I have a lot of bags, I usually keep them in a storage container and then store them all the way into my closet in a neatly packed space. So another tip I have is for a figure case. This is mostly important for people who do own figures, such as the prize figures or just Androids in general. And I don't have one of those fancy glass cases because I don't have room and it's kind of expensive for me. So I just bought this vertical case from Amazon, which I'll leave links down for below. And also anything I mention here, I'll try to link down below too. And this just helps me store my Androids better vertically, so there's more space and you can actually see them as opposed to if you had them laying down horizontally, where you can only see them really up close without everything else blocking a particular figure's view. And another thing I do is actually store my Nendroid pieces. I unfortunately can't keep all the Nendroid boxes because they're really huge and they take a lot of space, even though they're really nice. But to store my Nendroid pieces, I put all the pieces for a particular character in a box, which is usually used for storing like lunch items. And I bought this pack of 3 for $1.50 at Daiso, and they're really cheap. And then I put the figures in them and then cut out a picture of the character from the box onto the box I'll be putting it into, and then labeling it with a post-it note or something, just in case I forget what the character looks like or ask a friend to get a piece for me. And then I store all of these in a huge carrying case, which I then store into my closet. The next thing I always have a problem with is actually putting away my stuff that I don't need in my room. For example, I do a lot of my DIYs in my room, but then after I film it, I feel lazy and don't put them outside to store where I usually keep all my art supplies. So try your best when you take something out of your room that wasn't supposed to be in your room to put it back. And when you see that the place you're putting back your items is also dirty, go ahead and fix it before you add more work to yourself later. So moving on to the cosplay storage portion of this video. So starting off with your makeup. So I keep my makeup for cosplay and also party wear in my bathroom and not in my room, just because it doesn't need to be in my room, and I also have my own bathroom that I share with my family. But that option is not always available, especially if you're living in a dorm or if you're living with another roommate in an apartment, which maybe you guys have both stuff, so you can't really do this. However, one thing I found to be very helpful to maximize your space is a hanging makeup organizer, just because if your wall does have a hook, it can utilize that space, even if that's meant to be for clothes. It keeps things more easily seen twice, but I mean, it's really helpful. And with makeup organizers, it gets very messed up during and after a con, just because you're trying to put on your makeup and you just stuff everything back in after you're done finishing, because you don't really have time to organize it after you put on your cosplay, because you're probably gonna go head out to the con. So whenever you decide to fix up your makeup organizer again, be sure to separate them by sections such as his brushes, face, your eyes, and your lips. So another thing I do with makeup is that I have a container for the items that I usually wear or are the ones I usually mostly use, and then the organizer is just for makeup that I have but I don't really use it as often. And I don't use makeup all the time, only for cosplay and parties specifically. However, there are some products where I do use them a lot in those specific events, so I keep those in a storage container, and sometimes I do put the stuff I don't need in there, so always put it back into a separate container. You definitely don't have to do this, I just find it more helpful for the long run when you're doing cosplay makeup, that it's already there, so you don't have to mess up your already organized cosplay container of makeup. So another thing you probably don't do when you are putting on makeup until after the convention is done is cleaning your makeup brushes, and I have a bad habit of doing that too. However, there are ways to clean them effectively. There is a method where you use dish soap and olive oil. However, I do have dish soap, but I don't really want to go out and buy olive oil just for this, so I found another way to do it is just using your facial wash and then putting it on your fingers and then rubbing it around with water to get off the stain from your brushes that are probably dirty with a lot of stuff. So another accessory that's very essential to your costume is your wig. So for wig storage, there's usually the main method of putting it on a wig head, and there's nothing bad about that. It's actually very helpful, especially if you have a styled wig or you're planning to style wig, just so that it's easier to actually do that kind of things. But the problem with that is that you probably don't want to buy 5 wig heads for 5 wigs, because it just takes a lot of space and you might not have that much space in your room. So what I do is actually store it into boxes. And you might be thinking, wait, doesn't that tangle your wigs? Yes, it can, but you have to do it correctly. But if you're worried about tangling your wigs, there's actually a method that I found on Facebook from this one cosplay. I can't remember her name, but she just showed this epic video of using the mane and tail detangler, which I thought, oh my god, that is so wonderful to do. And I actually bought the detangler and used it on my co-wig, which was giving me a lot of trouble, especially for the ponytail. And when I used it, I was just so amazed. So what you do with the mane and tail is you actually spray and dampen your wig with the product and also move it into the hair so we can get in there. And then you just simply brush, and then all the tangles are removed. And when those tangles are removed, they do not happen that often anymore. Like example, I'm gonna do what she did in the video and mess up the wig again, and then you can see after I mess up the wig, there's so many tangles. However, when you comb it again with your hands or your hair, it just simply disappears. And if you need any more like, wow, is this really worth? Just look at my Amara wig from the before and after. So moving back to storing your wigs, I store my wigs in plastic containers, which I bought from Target. So a lot of wigs, when you get them, will usually have this fishnet thing, a cardboard cutout that kind of helps keep the shape of the wig, and also all of that is in a plastic bag. So if you still have that kind of thing, go ahead and just put it in the box. However, especially for me, when I was buying earlier wigs, I kind of threw all that stuff away. But no worries, if that happens, just go ahead and simply get another Ziploc bag to put it in, like one of those huge Ziploc bags, and then put your wigs in there. And for items that are really long, I just usually braid them or tie them in a ponytail so that it's easier to stuff it into the bag or into the box. And if you're worried about it like being wavy, don't worry, it's not gonna be that bad. Just simply, if that happens, go ahead and just comb it out, or just re-straighten it with a hair straightener, or maybe like slight steam. So for wigs that don't have any of that, sometimes I just simply put it long part first into the box, and then the head portion, and then because it doesn't have a plastic covering around it, I just leave one wig in there opposed to another wig, which you can do with one that is plasticed. So yeah, that is how I organize my room and my cosplay materials, and hopefully you found it helpful. These are actual tips I use in my room, and hopefully you'll use in your room. So yeah, thank you so much you guys for watching this video, and see you next time.